Okay, so we're going into effleurages. This is our introductory technique. This is actually a reverse effleurage from this direction. And effleurages are really a warming technique that allows us to spread the oil, to introduce our touch, to get a gentle glide going, and to warm up those tissues. This is a regular effleurage. So we'll always start and end every limb with an effleurage because we're going to warm up the tissues, start to increase circulation. It's soothing. It's got a nice rhythmic flow. It's stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, can help to reduce pain, and as we increase venous flow, we increase lymphatic flow, and we stretch the soft tissues and stimulate the pressure receptors, get them used to touch, introducing our touch. So it's on either side of the spine. I'm using one hand right now because I was reading, to be honest. So you could also do effleurages after you've done a gentle one. You might do a little bit too much pressure. Sorry, I'll ease off. You might do a one-sided elbow effleurage. So this can get as deep as you want by leaning your body's weight into your forearm. If you want it even deeper, eventually you might use elbows, although that's very aggressive. Forearm on itself tends to be great. So that's your elbow effleurage. And then we have Petrissages, right? So if I do this, I think reverse Petrissage, I'm not in the way so much and you can see better. But here's our Petrissage with thumbs. And we can also use our 4 fingers to Petrissage up the body. On either side of the spine, I can use my palms. I can use the outside of my palms, which I find particularly helpful in between the shoulder blades to stretch it out. So all of these types of Petrissage are going to increase local circulation wherever they're applied. They increase oxygen and nutrients to the tissue. They increase range of motion, which is ROM in your notes. So as we go into different types of Petrissages, there's muscle squeezing, which essentially, muscle squeezing is grabbing a muscle and holding it. So maybe I could show it best on the arm. It's a really great one to start near the shoulders and work your way down. It's an automatic reflex technique, this one. We have 4 of those. So I like this technique to use for babies because it automatically relaxes them. And it encourages a little bit of a lymph pump at the same time. The other reason why you might want to use muscle squeezing is for muscle spasms, MSMS. It's not MS, but you know what I mean. The acronym, if I was to make a shorthand for it rather, is muscle squeezing is for muscle spasms. So if you're having a muscle spasm, imagine this is the calf. I would grab it and slowly squeeze tighter, holding it as I start to feel the muscle spasm, that twitching under my hands start to soften, ease, and stop. Then I'll start to ease off of my grip. So I might be holding it for half a minute or a minute. Incredibly effective for muscle spasms. So that was muscle squeezing. And then we have kneading. So kneading we do a lot of to the neck and shoulders. There's some kneading up and down the neck. And we go up and down instead of back and forth because the muscles run long, right? So we want to stretch and lengthen. That's kneading. And then wringing, essentially, we do this a lot on the legs. You could do it anywhere. Anytime you feel something is stuck, you want to pick the muscle up off the bone and wring it. So right now I'm essentially wringing the upper traps and I guess the mid traps as well, and a little bit of serratus anterior. Serratus anterior is the muscles in between the ribs, and I could do rib raking, right? Go in between the ribs and stretch those muscles out, especially as they're taking exhalations and you're following the ribs. So you're coming upwards on this side, right? Great for asthma, for any bronchitis, sinus issues, anybody that might have a rib out of place. That's a sharp shooting pain when they take a breath in. That'll be the signal that there's a rib out of place. And we can go ahead and help that by feeling where the rib's out of place, rib breaking the serratus anterior, relaxing those muscles in between the ribs, those secondary respiratory muscles. And then go into wringing. Pick up and relax all the muscle bellies in that area. So essentially picking the muscles up off of the bone and just twisting, encouraging them to release. If you know origin and insertions, like let's see, we can see it here with the elbow. A lot of the muscles are inserting into the deltoid at this pressure point in the mid-deltoid and at the olecranon at the elbow. So if I was to say wringing in this area, I might focus along origin and insertion. Especially if the muscle belly was sore, you could always skip the muscle belly and just work on the tendons. Now we're getting more into specialized. You can see how my thumbs are really specializing on the tendons. And it is a wringing technique, but it's specific to the tendons now, which is called GTO release. So Golgi tendon organ release, a very effective technique, very popular in Asia. I worked with this a lot in Thailand. Essentially, you could do this all over the body. So that was GTO release. And we snuck that into the Petrissage techniques as we were talking about wringing. Lastly is picking up. And picking up is literally just that. It's usually saved for the limbs. I don't particularly like this technique because it might make people focus on the flabbiness of the tissue, but it is a squeezing and a lifting of the muscles vertically. Particularly, I like to use it on the quads, and that's about it. I particularly like to use it on the quads when they're muscular, so they don't even think about this flabbiness. If things are flaccid, you don't need them to be more flaccid, so you might not do that technique unless they were muscular anyways. So I hope this was helpful in giving you a little bit of an idea of some of the techniques and how to apply them. I'm just going to take a bit of oil off for the last two that I wanted to review. And they were skin rolling. Skin rolling I can probably show on my forearm. It's releasing adhesions in the subcutaneous levels, so just subdermal, just below the dermis. Essentially, you're trying to lift the fascia and release adhesions. So my fingers are inchworming forward and the thumb continues to push and lift just a very small area of the tissue. It's a little bit of a pinching technique, so let your clients know that you're in complete control. At any point, you might choose to have this augmented. This one is a tender technique, so if you don't like it, let me know. I could stop and find other techniques, right? So skin rolling on the back, away from the spine, away from the attachments, right? So all the muscles attached to bones. They're going to attach to the spine, the hips, and the shoulders, and the capitis, the head. All right, so then we have fascial stripping. And that's the other skin, and there's still a little bit of oil on. You can't do these with oil because you won't get the friction. This is a friction technique that is really great for releasing adhesions in a chronic muscle belly. So maybe a big knot that you've had for a long time into the shoulder. So this shoulder here, we can see a little bit of a pronouncement, right? Where it sticks up over this area. And I can go ahead and just hold down on that and pull apart for about half an inch as I vibrate with deep pressure into the tissue rather. So as soon as I lose that stretch, about an inch or two in, I stop and start again. And then I'm going to start to dial in to what way. Initially, go the way the fibers run, the way the muscles run, and then start to go cross fiber, and then circle it and see where it doesn't move. And that's where you want to actually focus more of your adhesion work on. And then ending adhesion work, friction your hands, think fire, fire, fire. Get it nice and warm and put that heat on that tender tissue now and soothe it. Give it some love and manually stretch the tissues. So when you're doing adhesion work, afterwards you want to heat the tissue and stretch it. Whether you take their limb into a stretch or manually stretch the tissue yourself. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, we'll have some fun exploring how to modify your techniques, and I'll see you soon in the next lecture. Take care and be well.